We're starting.
No. Okay, cool. I was asking ologist about cigarettes.
This meeting is being recorded.
So everyone's hearing that
Good
this meeting is recording.
evening.
Why don't you
Welcome
start
to
off and then I'll ask my question?
welcome. We are live. This is Ghettos of the Mind. We are back live for the I think 4 for 4 now. We're doing pretty good actually. We're 4 for 4.
Yes, we are.
So what I want to talk about today is something that has been sort of bubbling, that sort of reached this not zenith, but sort of the main specter of what's going on today is there's a case in Connecticut, case that we are as we're getting ready for a nor'easter. This case that happened over the holidays just before, this young girl that was a student at I think Norwalk Community College, but lived in Bridgeport. Apparently she went out on a bumble date with some guy and was found dead. And there's a huge sort of brewing story in regards to it. And I'll click on that. I'll show you the story. So just in case you don't know what's going on, it'll sort of explain a little about it. And it's here. There it goes. Yeah. So basically it's a probe in regards to her death. And now I don't know the whole factors of what happened with her, the circumstances. I don't want to really argue that in regards to that because I don't think it's fair because we don't know the whole story. But what I do want to talk about is how, in a lot of cases, how Black and brown people are treated in these scenarios. I was talking earlier, I was thinking about, there's a lot of different cases in which you have where people, where off the hand, I can think of many, not many, but a number of women, Caucasian women who have been abducted, who have been missing, or whatever have you, and they have pulled out all the stops in order to locate them. Whereas in this particular case, this is a good case and situation that involves with where her family was even notified. She found out about it. Pretty much, they found out about her, what happened to her, pretty much secondhand. I think from what I gather, I think they said they found a note on her door, and they called the police. The police told her what happened. And this isn't just an isolated incident. This is endemic of a lot of scenarios. You have a lot of cases where people who wind up missing, and the police basically turn a blind eye or don't do anything about it, and the families have to basically, raise all holy hell just to get anything done. So I kind of want to have a discussion about that. And the second, and sort of that's one part of it. And the second aspect of I'm thinking about is sort of social media beat ups and sort of what can be, and we were talking a little earlier offline, like what responsibility you have in terms of situations like that. But again, so starting with this little story, it's crazy. I was you hear about what happened. It's like this happened over, I think December, I think it happened. And like only now in the article I mentioned that they are basically going to probe into what happened to her. And it's interesting.
They had the autopsy report, but still.
Yeah. Apparently it was they say it might have been accidental. We don't know what happened. But again, my issue is how it took her family to basically fight for this, to basically get on a public relations spree and go to the news networks. And apparently Cardi B tweeted about it. Apparently that kind of, it was basically people getting involved in the case. People really sort of sticking their nose out and really making an issue of it. And I want to sort of discuss, like, why does this happen? Why do you think that a situation like this, had she been, I'll give you my opinion, had she been Katie O'Brien from Ohio, wherever, this would have been big news.
Elizabeth Smart. You mean Elizabeth Smart?
Well, I wasn't there particularly, but Elizabeth Smart as an issue too. You think about, does anybody remember Chandra Levy? What happened with her in DC?
Chandra Levy.
That was a big case that, they I think that was with a senator was involved with her. And, apparently it was a big, huge scenario with regards to it. But,
we just had one in Connecticut. I don't remember the name of the lady, but she was likely killed by her husband. Remember?
Really?
You don't remember the case where they were looking for the lady?
Oh, the photos guy? Yeah. And it's a big, it's a whole huge don't say huge, but there is many cases like that, you know, and about how a person of color, black, brown, anything other than say a white woman, it takes mountains to get any kind of notice of what happens, you know,
They would have been noticed if they would have suspected murder, because then they have to notify the next of kin. And because it wasn't deemed that, they didn't, because she was an adult.
You deem so? I mean, yeah, I guess so. It's just
No,
really,
if it's considered murder, then they notify next of kin. That's procedure.
so you think that in this case that they didn't think that it was a murder? They thought it was just.
Well, that's what the reports I read said.
Yeah.
The news reporting.
I guess what
I'm not absolving. I'm not saying that's what it should have happened in this case, but I'm saying that's why the family wasn't notified.
But you think that they
bad public relations
in a case like this that they would at least do rudimentary investigation, maybe, you know, I'm not saying you have to just go and start, you know, arresting people and sort of throwing locking people up, but okay, start questioning, maybe have a person of interest. You know, you kind of say, okay, we're gonna ask you, you know, what happened? How did this happen? And sort of really shake the trees and sort of see what happens. And it to me, at looks at this case, and I don't know all the details, but it's very
Meeting recorded.
It's very they did a very shoddy job. I think they seem to think that I don't know, you know, I don't know. I can't get into the heads of what the police were thinking, but it's a really
I can a little bit.
What?
From what I can tell, evidence kind of supported that she looks like she had overdosed. The person she was with had called the next morning when they noticed like the blood in her mouth. They didn't think it was a homicide. They think it was just an accidental drug overdose. The detective, I got to be honest, I think the bigger controversy in this story is the fucking abysmal way Bridgeport's police department handled their relations with the family. I think that's the real controversy here.
I agree.
That shit's inexcusable. And detectives, at least in my experience, are not the best with actually dealing with and following up with people. The detective said, oh no, the other person is a nice guy. Motherfucker, this was the last person that saw them alive. Nah, son, it does none of this. They didn't handle the shit.
What does that have to do with how they handled the family? See, I think that it should have been considered a possible crime from the beginning. And then the whole issue with the family wouldn't have been there, because they would have did what they needed to do, because they would have followed up with the family. When was the last time? Like all of this stuff is basically the initial response to once they were informed that this young lady was dead.
I'm basing my opinion on
and I'm not going to get into because based on like if an investigation happened, it could go either abstract, it could go either way. It could have been an accidental overdose, or it could have been that she was drugged. Did they even like screen her to see if she had been sexually assaulted? We don't know. Like there's so much stuff that should have happened that didn't happen, and it was all from the initial response. And I'm not going to get into the judgment stuff of, you know, the stuff with the family. That's unfortunate, but that's a few dominoes down the way of how stuff should have been happening. As the Spanish librarian has said, because I can't pronounce that properly.
Street librarian. Actually, Streets, why don't you tell us how we say that? How do we enunciate that?
Yeah, no, but if she, I don't know.
You picked it as a name.
Calajero.
One of the councilwomen in the town that the situation happened in, she said that point blank. If it would have been somebody white, they wouldn't have responded that way.
Right.
One of the city council.
And to me, I think that's the bigger issue. The fact that they were dismissive about her and her family. You know, you think that, okay, say it was an accident. Where do you come off putting a note on the door and not contacting the family? It's not like she was homeless. If she's homeless, it's a different story.
I'm
And
gonna play.
it sucks.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. From my reading of the article, the family came by the house like a day or so later and found a note on the door that
Right.
the
It was from the
landlord
landlord, not
Yep.
from the cops. It was from the landlord.
left
It's for the
over there.
landlord.
We're
Wow.
talking now understand the timeline. We're talking a day later. There's a process when there's a death or a homicide or something like that. They got to gather evidence,
Yeah.
secure the scene. They got to follow up. I think the fact that just a day went by, if the
I thought it
family
was 2
didn't go
days.
there, if the family didn't go there, and granted, somebody probably saw all the activity at the house and contacted the family, and because they weren't contacted by the police initially, and that's
Right.
what made them come to the house.
Right. Probably. Yeah.
So then they found out the issue is that at some point the police told them to stop calling them. They're working on a case and to stop calling them. And I can understand the family frustration because they want to know what's going on. And you probably have more than one family member calling the police to find out what's going on. But I mean, when we're talking based on the timeline, not that much have went by from the time that she died till this stuff came out in the news. What, a week?
I don't know when it first came out. I mean, but it was very small in terms of a story, and it's like now starting to catch steam. So it's kind of hard to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't know when it broke. I think it. I don't know. Maybe was it before the new year? Maybe.
I got it. So I gotta, and I just gotta question, because you gotta give the police a chance to do their job. And if you're steady calling, they're like, we're not done. You call, look, we're following up. We're following up on some leads. We're doing this, and someone else called. You know, have y'all found out something? Did the guy do it, or what are y'all dealing with the guy? They like, look, we're following up. And
He's a
so
nice
police
guy.
could get frustrated.
Good
Police
guy.
could get frustrated. Look, we're following up. Don't call back. We're gonna call you.
All right.
Yeah,
Can I
but
push
you,
back
like,
against you a little bit here?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Part
Aaron.
of the thing is, and to be fair, cool assertion, their job is to work for the family and the community. The community and public relations aspect of the job is like a large percentage of the job. How these people feel, how comfortable they are, is it part of the job. Them not knowing how to handle, how to talk, how to communicate, and that affecting the trust they have in their investigation is a part of it. They did not respond to the family the right way.
We don't know that.
I think
We
even
don't
with the
know that.
time frame, I don't think it was okay how they handled them.
We don't know how they responded to him. We're going on somebody who's actually seeking a lawsuit.
We're going by
right
the
now
family,
for what
their
they
words.
say,
They're not
based
happy.
on what the family's saying. You're saying based on what the family's saying. But we
Yes,
don't know if
the family
police,
of the
we don't
victim.
know if they have been
Mhm.
responding. And like in the job that I just retired from, where I had to call clients, the conversation I should have with a client should take me 5 minutes, but because of the emotional things the family going to, I'm on the phone for an hour. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but-
saying?
That sounds like you're good at your job then.
But-
Sounds like you're
right,
being caring.
but
No,
it's
that
not-
is, I'm
DJ,
talking,
DJ,
I'm
DJ,
talking,
part
but
of the-
not saying, because I'm saying the same thing over and over and over to the person. You know what I'm saying?
No, but
Yeah.
But no, DJ,
Yeah.
part of the process, like if you like they didn't know this girl from anything, part of the process is understanding who the possible or alleged victim is, and who do you talk to. One of the first people you talk to is family. If they found out she was romantically involved, then you want to talk to that person first. This is basic stuff. It didn't happen. And that's how come the family's upset. The family has a right to be upset. Like,
Again, we're talking about the family found out like a day later because they went to the house because possibly somebody saw the activity, the cops and the coroner there, and someone told them. That's not saying that the cops would not have reached out to them, man. You got to secure the scene. You got to secure evidence. You got to go and reach out. Who is this young lady? They're going to go on Facebook.
It doesn't
They're
take
going
a
to go
day.
on Facebook. Who's this young lady? who is this guy? They're gonna go on Facebook and every other media and try to find out who this guy
Before you
is,
go on
who is
Facebook, you
associated
talk
with.
to the family because that's the image that they're presenting. You need to get to know the people who love her. That's basic.
Yes, yes, and I understand that. A murder, the cops can be there all day, just in the house before they even contact anybody. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna contact the family, but you got to give them a chance, bro.
I hear what you're saying, DJ, but think about it like this:
No, but
if they didn't know what happened to her, if they don't know what happened, they don't know if whatever happened, they don't know the situation, right?
Okay,
Wouldn't
let me
they
just
do an
share.
investigation and then say, okay, we're gonna look at this case, maybe give it a case number, or even just and then eventually you come to the conclusion, okay, you do autopsy and you realize that whatever is an accident, whatever happens. And apparently, I heard the family had to talk to. I think they had their own autopsy to find out that this was accidental. I think because I know it was just recently that they deemed it that it was. That
My
it was
understanding, they're waiting
rates?
for toxicology results.
No,
So
that's already.
so
That's
wouldn't
already,
but
it's already
okay if
taken
that's the
in. But
case,
wait, hold
wouldn't
on,
you still have
Pat.
an open case? When you still okay? Let's at least create a docket case number, put an officer and just investigate, start a preliminary investigation. And then the person who's there, they would be a person of interest. They're not on the arrest, but they're saying, "Hey, we want to talk to you. We want to see what was going on." And it's
Let me
not
just
just. It seemed like they blew through everything really quickly, and they said, "Oh, it was an accident. This guy's a great guy. Let's move on." And I think it's a little bit of both. I think the family probably was a little insistent. Family member died, and you got people calling about that. But then you also have a police force that seemingly, I don't want to stay. I want to go ahead of myself, but that made the assumption that before they had come to a conclusion, before the evidence said what was happening. You know what I'm saying? So they
Let me
had
make
said,
this
"Oh well,
point.
this would seem like it's an accident." Before that, before they had made a conclusion for the toxicology reports.
Well, what is
Wait,
it?
no, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me make
Is it
this
a
point.
murder or an
No, wait,
accident?
hold on a
It looks
We
second.
don't
like an
know.
accident. It looks like an
Let me
overdose.
make this point.
It seems to be.
Let me make this point. There's a recent article in the CT Post that Bridgeport Police Department, they're down about 100 cops. Anyway, like whatever detectives was assigned to initially look into them, like if they didn't want to talk to the family themselves, there's 300 plus other officers. They could have sent somebody else out to the family to notify the family, to talk to the family, to gather information, to bring back the detectives. It just doesn't have to be those two. It's one of the largest police forces in the state. So
Also, Ologist
I
brought
don't
up
know if it
the
works like that.
real.
Go ahead.
Wait, DJ. Ologist actually brought up one of the other big pieces of this puzzle. We're talking about Bridgeport. All throughout my time working on my degree, I kept researching local police departments. Bridgeport kept coming up for a variety of different reasons. There's misconduct issues in Bridgeport, race-related issues in Bridgeport. I'm saying there's been multiple times where they were trying to research police departments in the state, and one of those departments was Bridgeport, who frequently did not comply. There are some good police departments in Connecticut. I don't think it's so much of a stretch to say Bridgeport is not one of them. I'm saying, if there was a police department for this type of thing to happen with, I'm not exactly surprised it's Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And all I say is please take into consideration that we're talking about it's probably gonna be a homicide unit. I don't know if they really send a patrol person out there to it would be somebody from that unit. It would not be just a patrol officer that would go get information. I don't think they would do that. And we also got to take into consideration, this isn't the only death in Bridgeport. They got pendings and their people are calling every day. You know what I'm saying?
No, people don't know this nationally, but Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven are in the top. Well, last time I researched, within the last 4 or 5 years, Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven are in the top 10 of violent crimes on the FBI list, or they were the last time last
Right.
time I
David's
checked.
Yeah.
calmed down a little bit.
And there's
Bridgeport, not so much.
Right.
Huh?
And so this isn't the only case that these cops are working on. They're working it, but it's not the only one. And these other cases they working on, their parents and their brothers and
there's
sisters
usually
calling.
like
So when they
DJ.
tell this family, look, don't call back. I mean, because they probably got frustrated. We're working it. You know,
No,
I
there's-
mean,
I think
you
the only
should
person who
have
should have
been
followed up with them should have been that detective.
no, there's
Huh?
multiple
DJ.
shootings and killings almost every week in Bridgeport if you follow the news. It is what it is.
in Hartford
Mhm.
also.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. They're all. Yep.
good times.
And they don't have 300 people in the homicide unit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know about that.
It's about 300. It's 300 plus 350, 360, something like that. They're down about 130
Not in the
officers.
homicide unit,
Retired.
in the police department.
No, I
Not
know,
in the
I know,
homicide unit.
DJ. I'm just trying to give an overview of
Oh.
the article I read, and I think they got about 12 or so in the academy, and 30 officers are eligible for retirement. I think February or March. It's crazy.
Really. Wow.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we're talking about the whole force. We're
Yeah,
not
they
talking
hurt.
about the homicide or
Wow. That's crazy.
No, I'm talking about the numbers of the whole force of the article I
Right.
read. It was,
right.
and consequently, some of the officials, like public servants that made the most in the state is a lot of Bridgeport cops because of the overtime, like
Yeah, I believe it.
crazy amounts of
I believe
money made by certain individuals in overtime because they're down 100 workers. It's crazy.
You know, and again, I really think my whole issue is kind of how had she had been a different color, I think this would have gone a lot differently. You know, and I think that's kind of the bigger issue that like this investigation was kind of handled in a way that was just sort of appears very haphazard, sort of. I don't know. I won't say I can't say Slavic, but handled not the most efficient manner. And you know, again, there's a site, actually a documentary I was watching called Black and Missing. There's a Black and Missing Foundation talking about all these, how, you know, all these different Black people are missing, and how it takes, in many cases, a lot of these people, families, to have to move heaven and hell to get any kind of, you know, someone to really look after them, or celebrity, or someone to really take up their cause for many of these police departments to do anything about it.
Streets.
I think that's a big issue.
I have two bordering on three examples of this. One of my favorite assignments I had to do for one of my classes, I had to compare the Elizabeth Smart case to the, I'm going to get her name wrong and I apologize. Her name was Alua Satoyan of Houston, Texas. This was the Black Lives Matter protester who had put it on Twitter that she got sexually assaulted. A few days later, she was killed. In these two situations, there were a number of parallels. My professor wanted us to basically research both cases to figure out why was the response different. What I had found out was, in terms of local police, they were on their job. In terms of cities, the cities were on their job and trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. The actual difference was Elizabeth Smart's parents were able to get onto national news. What actually helped them find their daughter was they were able to get onto Larry King. Asula and Toyin was not able to get that far. Her parents weren't that well organized or in it. When you're the family of someone who's missing, your family's ability to say, advocate, fight, and do the legwork for you, more so than just the police, because the police have a limited scope on what they can actually do. In this case, what actually was the X factor that tipped it over was getting national news exposure. You dig? If you don't have someone advocating like crazy for you, your family's not going to get that.
Pretty much.
And the other part of that being, depending on what you look like, I love this assignment because it was also going on during the Gabby Petito case. Depending on what you look like, and
Gabby
yeah,
Petito, that's the one I was thinking of. Like,
we have
they
for-profit
were
news,
interrupting regular programs.
marketability of how you look, the story, that can also determine how much attention you're going to get.
Especially national attention.
Especially national, right? And
I mean,
people making decisions for national news want a certain story to look and smell and feel like a certain thing. And if the announcers can accurately pronounce the person of color's name, like what Abstract just said, we're gonna go to the next story. Elizabeth.
That's fucked up and it hurts my worldview. You're also correct.
No, I know.
Yeah, it's a better bill.
So I'll get so
Not right. Not right.
Oh wait, I want to put this to the group like this. Out of all of us, if any of us went missing, who do you think would have the best media reaction? Who has the most marketable face?
Todd.
I was going to
I think
say
Sean does.
I'm somewhere in between.
I
I don't know. I
Sean
like
does.
Mike's glasses. I don't know. It could be Mike. Might be you. You're army fatigues. This is a soldier.
Yeah, are you a veteran, man, DJ? Veteran
true.
goes missing.
As
You
fucked
know?
up as this is, a percentage of this, some fact of this is how marketable is your face. I would say a dude goes missing, it's not going to generate much market attention. But a girl, someone like your daughter, in our
My daughters go missing a lot. They don't care.
But
There's and I wish I had done a little more research on it, but there's a story about like how Black girls aren't as like if they go missing, it's not as big a an issue. So like a 15-year-old girl, what person of another complexion goes missing, it's Amber Alert, balls to the wall. Whereas the Black girl, did she run away? Was she on drugs? You know, I mean, it's a lot of times the assumption is that it's assumed that they assume that they assume that they had some fault in this, you know, that they had some policemen as opposed
a lot
to
of assumptions
so
there.
Y'all remember the case in Cleveland where like that dude had like 3.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that Elizabeth?
And the neighbors had made multiple calls over many years, and
Yep.
That was just insane. Nobody cared.
Yep, nobody cared, and it's sad.
Let me throw this wrench in there. So let's take Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
On any given weekend, we can have so many people shot, killed, 10 people killed, babies, and stuff like that. They have most likely have a bigger police force than Bridgeport or Hartford.
Yeah,
probably not that much now. A lot of them probably done left and went to a suburb or something, but there's still their homicide unit is not going to be that big. Could you imagine how many, and we're talking about in 1 week of Chicago shootings and homicides, how much they stuff might be backed up, and they got family members calling every day?
Now I'm pretty sure their homicide unit is a decent size because
I'm sure they have a huge.
It's the third largest city. It's right behind LA.
It's one of
the.
But based on predicated on the amount of shootings and deaths that they can have in 1 week.
Yeah.
We ain't
Well, I mean, look. Well, let's just use Greater Los Angeles with all of the gang, like it is like. It's not just one. It's not like just Chicago proper. It's Chicago and the southern area, like LA. Yeah.
St.
Louis, New York is
St. Louis, Baltimore
with the 5. Oh yeah, B-more is rough.
Yeah. So you got parents and understand all these people and they're investigating all these cases, and you got family members calling every day. And they trying to get their jobs.
DJ, can I stop you right there? There's a better point I think you could make here. If you're in a place where there is a lot of shooting and a lot of crime, and I would say with the socioeconomics of these towns and places, there's going to be a lot of missing kids. There's so much of it. At what point do you become desensitized and you're just thinking, look, this is like the 5th one I've had today.
I agree.
It's not 24 hours. We're going to wait. In a large city, it doesn't stick out as much. If you're from more of a suburban, less populated city, it could stick out that much. In Little Ridgedale, we never get problems like this.
Right.
But that's because statistically, they don't get it as much. Every town deals with this. It's just less likely. Some of the response is hampered on where people are. The thing I was saying before about the other story was the same issue. This happened in Houston. The police were doing their job. in spite of every issue I can imagine going on in Houston, they were doing their job. It's just where it happened affected it. If one person goes if one person goes missing in the city of New York with 8 million people, fucking needle in a big ass haystack, that does affect some of it. Where people are located is a factor. And I don't necessarily disagree with Todd's point, though.
Wait, hold on a second.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree
I'm gonna
with
ask
it.
DJ something. DJ,
Yes.
you don't think that when Elizabeth Smart went missing that their parents wasn't calling, but I bet you there was a difference. I bet you there was more a line of communication between the family and the police. The police were probably actually calling them, giving them updates. Like, I think the response of how just say that marginalized folks to encompass the Black, brown, and folks of color, how what the response is when one of their loved ones is allegedly murdered or killed, and how the police like engage and talk to them is probably a lot different than how they talk to other folks.
Right. That's a big assumption. I would say that's on a more of a case-by-case basis.
Oh,
I know
like,
there
where
are.
is she from?
We can
wait,
go
hold
to
on a second.
Walmart right now
No.
and
Do
look
you
at
think the
all
police
the
would have
lists
told
of people
Elizabeth
that are
Smart?
missing, and it's going to be a color of different people,
Wait,
Black,
hold on.
white, and brown.
No, hold on. You think the police would have told Elizabeth Smart's parents to stop calling here, the police department? Heck
Again,
no.
this
Well,
is the
where's she from?
allergist. Here's the
I
big
don't
thing with
remember
that
where she
particular
was from.
example. We were talking about Bridgeport, that
No,
is, as you admitted, is
we
understaffed,
weren't.
and they mostly
comparing.
talk to one detective.
No.
That's,
We were
I'm saying
comparing.
this is more of an issue with Bridgeport's police department and how they responded to this case.
No, that's not the point I was making. I was like,
where Elizabeth Smart was from.
A detective would never tell a white family, stop calling. You're calling too much. That's just a public relations nightmare.
We don't know that.
I'm gonna look that one up.
You're making assumptions. We would hope they wouldn't, but some people
but
you just gotta like. Some people, man, listen. Especially when you're dealing with people with needs and emotional, sometimes you just gotta.
Crying white parents going to the news station. The police told us X, Y, and Z. The police are going to have a media microscope up their butt, quick, fast, in a hurry. Black folks go, well, we need a little bit more information about the case. We'll look into it, and it's not going to be on the news. The white family would be on the news. Police departments know that.
Well, influence plays a part too. I don't know, somebody in your family or somebody related to your family know people. They know somebody, a legislator or somebody. That plays
I'm sure politics play an occasion. But I was going to mention a couple things.
Does anybody remember? Know and have connection and influence is two different things. Even though Bridgeport's the biggest city in the state and it's a small community, know and politicians are political animals. What's in it for them? Am I going to attach my name to this? Like they're making calculations themselves.
And don't leave out the attorneys. Don't leave out the attorneys, bro. They have their motives.
At this point, I say we move on to the next topic.
I was going to mention. Did anybody remember the Atlanta child murders?
Wayne Williams.
The what murders?
The Atlanta child murders from the 80s, I believe.
Wayne Williams.
80s and 90s, I believe. Yeah. But if you notice that how little attention that got and how long that went on in terms of what happened with it, as opposed to many other issues, and what I was saying is that a lot of times I think that if you are a person of color and you're poor, particularly, you don't get the attention. And I'm sure that these families and I know that the families in Atlanta, they cared about their family, but they didn't have. I think you mentioned earlier talking about having political connections. They cared about their family, but no one cared about them. No one. It took I don't know how many years for them to basically crack that case, and it's still there's still questions about it even to this day. But I really think that there's there's definitely a hierarchy in terms of what happens with a lot of these situations. And I see Mike rubbing his face. What say you, Mike? You've been off quiet.
I don't have a whole bunch to add to this. Somebody's audio is giving feedback. I don't know whose it is, but it's.
Honestly, I think it might be mine.
You said you were gonna mention, and I think I'm not sure if we got off topic, but you mentioned um OnlyFans
So
and
okay, yeah,
yeah.
since we were talking about that, one of the things that I kind of want to also touch on a bit is that how a lot of times, and it's not, I won't say it's this case. This case is sort of, it's unfinished, so we don't know exactly what the end result is. But there are a lot of cases, and I'm using situations where a lot of women have used social media to, to attract men, to search traps, to get attention and build what's called, let's be using OnlyFans or Snapchat or Instagram. And there's, if you go on Instagram, you see this girl with a big old booty, and you go, wow, she's living the life, and maybe she takes a plate, and she takes a picture of her in Abu Dhabi, and you're thinking, wow, how's she in Abu Dhabi? That must be amazing, all this. But there's a dark side of that. I won't say a lot, that's not, a number of these girls are using these as ways to meet men, and there's the dangers involved with it. We were discussing this earlier. We're talking about, say victim blame. I'll give you, there's a couple cases, and I wish I could think, I could think of the name of this girl. I guess this one girl who was, she's an Instagram model, big old booty, and, had lots of fans. Apparently some guy that was a fan of hers had to, he wound up basically, I don't know, he staged a meeting with her, wanted to basically offing her, because of that. And a lot of times I think that we don't think about, I think a lot of these young girls that use these platforms to get attention don't think about maybe the dark side, what can happen. It doesn't mean that they're, and like I was discussing earlier, doesn't mean that they're to blame for it, but there's a certain responsibility that you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with people, especially on social media these days, because you're leaving yourself open. There's a lot of things that can happen. So, and it kind of got me thinking about, in this case, in connection with this case, because apparently she met this guy on Bumble, and I don't know what the story was happening with it, but a lot of times I see a lot of women who use these social media platforms to boost themselves up, and a lot of times they don't realize or not aware of the dangers of having yourself so open on social media. I guess is that like a better word? And that was kind of what I want to discuss. I know what say you, Sean? Nation takes a nation of millions. Chuck D.
DJ and I were talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't want to come off as victim blaming or victim shaming.
It came up again. It turned up again.
But she met this guy, and I guess was the first thing. First of all, I mean, you could do your own thing, but she's meeting people, inviting them over to her house, during the pandemic. But that's her decision. Trust and believe he wasn't the only dude that came over to her house to visit.
Keep it real, bruh.
I mean, why does that even matter? But
I'm just setting the
that
stage.
Doesn't matter.
I'm setting the stage, but let me finish.
Like no,
Yes, it does. Unless you don't want to say victim blaming, it does. We gotta have a conversation about the life that these young people are living. Some of these video vixens and stuff like that, and putting their stuff all on. What we got.
I think we both used to like watching BET late at night, but let's not take a nation.
We gotta have that conversation, because if
then gospel would come on right after. That was weird.
She's what, 22? 22. The guy was 37.
Point
white
being,
guy.
Her meeting up with dudes doesn't mean she should have been killed. And as far as we know, we don't even know if it was murder.
She said she killed.
I caught myself saying it.
Okay.
I'm making an I don't think it's a murder anyway. But let's have Take a Nation continue.
I guess my point is I'm trying to sort of
Take a Nation
discuss
off.
Is that it I think a lot of young girls have this opinion that I can do what I want to do. I can do what I want to do. I can, I can get all this money on Instagram or on OnlyFans or what you call it. And it's like, you know what, that comes with the price.
What a cost.
It's not.
I had to cost my knees.
But that can happen to you anywhere. Doing anything. I can get a job and someone can.
Wait. So Aaron, you're right. So Abshai, you're right. But isn't it more likely that it happens is if I so
You
okay,
really
let's
don't
use,
make that argument
use-
because
let's
most
use-
of the time
let's use
assaults,
let's
murders
use
are from people you know. Don't make
let's
that
let
argument you would lose.
what I'm saying is that isn't don't you have some responsibility to at least be aware of the things you're doing and how you're putting yourself out there and how people can react to it. I'm gonna look at an
Do
example
you
to show
not
you
want
what
her
happens.
to use Bumble?
Wait, hold on a second.
I'm
Aaron, do you know,
again,
Aaron,
my issue isn't the platform, it's how the platform is used and how you protect yourself by using it.
Hey,
You
was
have
Sean
to be
able to
careful.
finish? Was
wait,
Sean
hold on
able
a
to finish
second.
his point, though?
Abstract. Do you know what an actuary is? Do you know what an actuary is?
I know before I answer that, I want Sean to finish.
No.
And no, I don't.
Okay, an actuary is somebody that goes to school for
Calculator.
education that looks at multiple variables and they give statistical probabilities on certain outcomes. Like when you do certain things, like you increase the probabilities of certain outcomes. They're used like in the insurance industry to get rates, this, that, and the other, businesses to see how successful certain plans potentially can be. Like they're able to look at lots of different variables, put it together, and come up with a to give you a good continuum of what you want to try and what's the probabilities that it's going to turn out in certain ways. So when you do certain things, you increase the likelihood that you're putting yourself at risk. It's not making a value judgment on the behavior
It feels
that
like
you're
a
doing.
value
It's just,
judgment.
huh?
It feels like a value judgment.
No, it's not. It's just saying if you do X, Y, and Z, the probability that A, B, and C is going to happen are these percentages. It is what it is. It doesn't mean that
The
those
likelihood
percentages
have
are going to
increased.
happen, but it's just saying you like if you do this, then this is the likelihood that of this is going to be the consequence of it.
Right.
And that's all that streets is saying.
Well,
And
then
you would think
again,
that
the
it's a value
likelihood you might
judgment
get
that
shot or
nobody
you
should.
might end up in jail or you
Yes,
might die.
yes.
Sean, but did Sean finish? You
I
on
guess I'm
mute,
not going to respond. Go ahead, man.
Sean?
Yeah, I'm here. So
Go ahead.
I'm gonna come at this from a totally different viewpoint. Right. I'm coming to it. I'm looking at this as a parent, right? Todd has a daughter. Unpopular has a daughter. I have a daughter. DJ has a niece. I'm not sure Mike and Aaron if you have sisters or
Mike is actually my dad and I'm his daughter. Sorry, but continue. I have nieces.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, I have a very hard time not believing that this girl's parents or mother at least had no idea what she was up to.
Agreed.
Exactly. Brothers and
Agreed.
sisters and brothers and sisters. Exactly.
The family, I'll just say the family,
How
had no
she was living.
idea how she was living.
I agree.
And the life you lead sometimes will tell on you.
I to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna link
If all of us if all of us were able to get some information about her off her social media page, and we don't know the girl from Eve, you mean to tell me that her family never looked at her Facebook page?
She got cousins her age. She got family.
We don't know what a family relationship is. I'm not all up in my sister's romantic life. They haven't been in mine.
Well, they look like
it feels like it's one of those
business
things
now. I don't know if it's because
I know
of
it's after the
lawsuit,
fact,
but they into it now.
Of course, DJ, just make sure we're not doing this thing of trying to project our values, how we think about what we would do in their shoes, whatever, onto them. We don't know their family. We don't know how their family works. Like, when it came down to say with my own love life, I would always talk to my love life with my brother. I never talked to my sister about my love life, even though she's had more success in that regard. that's how our family works.
Yeah, but what about
Different
social?
families,
What
different ways.
I'm not an
I understand love
actuary,
life,
but
social life.
let's just say the probability is 60 to 75%. There is a
But we
person,
don't know what the we
maybe a
don't know
person
how it
in my
actually
family that
is.
is an actuary. That's why I know what it is.
I'm gonna.
Social life.
Can you see this article here?
It's coming
It's
up.
happened roughly about
Hey, can you
toward the end of last
wait,
year.
Wait, you're right. I am over it. Whatever we're talking about.
So what I'm sure her family knew that she was an Instagram influencer.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, I'm not saying anything that she should be doing is anything, but what I'm saying is that when you do these things, you put yourself out there like that, you are putting yourself at risk for anything to happen to you. Doesn't mean that you deserve it. Of course not. By no means am I saying that. But there is a risk involved. You know, it's not just, oh, everything is fine and you can do whatever the hell you want to do, and there aren't crazy individuals out there. Apparently, this guy started was a stalker. There's another one, some girl went to Abu Dhabi with some prince. I think it's Africa, and wound up being killed. You know, and it's like I understand the idea of you being able to express yourself and show your booty or whatever you want to do, but it's like I think there's
correlating.
There's a reason
showing yourself off with murder.
Well, maybe not. Okay, let me put it. Showing yourself off isn't the thing.
Because I think you can make friends with someone online. They could take you somewhere and still kill you. You can make friends with someone in person. Hell, one's more likely. You're more likely to know someone in person. They take you somewhere and kill you. Most of the time, you know your murderer.
That is true.
Most of the time.
That is
I'm not
true.
an actuary and anchorist or whatever, but I'm sure the percentage there is much higher.
I guess I'm maybe this is the conservative part of me showing this sort of misogynist person to me, but I do think that every person should have some active responsibility in the things that they do and how they present themselves out to the world. It doesn't.
It's just not the shit I want to say over a corpse.
I'll use an example I mentioned earlier. I go out to the club, I have my drink, I go out, I put it down, somebody roofies me. I finish my drink, I go to the bathroom, somebody puts a roofie in my drink, I wake up and somebody's holding my pants down. Now, no, I'm not to blame for what happened to me, but me putting my drink down probably isn't the wise thing to do.
Should have never gone to the club in the first place.
Being irresponsible about how to behave.
Not even facetious. What I'm saying is that there are certain things that I could have done to minimize the possibility of this happening. Don't you think?
Wait, hold on a second. Let me flip the argument. Let me flip the argument. Let's say people make conscious choices to do positive things. So, like, I'm gonna use everybody on this podcast. Most everybody on this podcast have went to college or served in the military. Like, we know the risk. We took a chance in going to college, going in debt, this, that, and the other, to have a more positive outcome for our lives. We took that risk. Another person took that risk to go to the military, could have got shot, killed, died, serving this country, protecting this country. They took that risk so that they can have the opportunities in life that they wanted to. We're not discrediting that and saying, oh, well, you went to the military, you got shot, or you went to college, you got in debt and you didn't graduate. Now you poor. Like, it's a risk. It is what it is. And you openly take that risk for what you think you can get out of it. And there's some things that you don't know about the risk that you're taking, this, that, and the other. But that part is a conscious choice. It's not saying if it turns out bad, then oh no, people can't say things to make it seem like you were dumb, you were stupid, you were a victim, because people are going to say that and you can't control that. But it's a conscious risk that you're taking to get the things that you want. And most of the time, people are aware of that risk. There was no indication that she had any sort of like cognitive issues, this, that, and the other, impaired judgment, blah, blah, blah. It's not there. And we took the risk that we took. We received the benefits from it. Like, we're framing all this stuff from a negative point of view. And when something happens bad, you can't say this, that, or the other. Or, like, look at it from a different perspective.
She probably shouldn't have took all the drugs with the alcohol.
That's definitely, she shouldn't have did that. That's most definite.
You should. Who said she willingly took them? We don't know.
Yeah,
That's
we don't
an
know.
assumption. We don't know.
Wouldn't
You know,
there
the
be
other thing I was
evidence
thinking
on her
about with this
body
other
of some
case,
forcible entry?
but the other
Because
thing
so
I was
far I
thinking
haven't
about,
heard it.
the
Oh,
other thing I was
what if
thinking about with this
somebody just
case is
slips
that
them in when you're not looking and you don't know? And then once you got enough in you, you're not cognizant or you don't have the mental capacities to know that you've been drugged, and they keep plying you with stuff that has fentanyl and other drugs in it.
So Todd, the
It's a
article that you
possibility.
sent,
Like, huh?
Todd, the article that you sent, right?
Yep.
I was reading it, and this is from, I guess, whatever he told the police. He said that her brother came over to the house. She
really.
went outside. This is the article you sent me. She went
Oh,
outside
that one, yeah.
and then went, after she met with the brother, went back in and went in the bathroom for 15 minutes.
Mm. I
Is it
think
possible her brother
She
gave him?
physically met with her brother?
here's another thing I was thinking about is that, you know what? Say is acting an overdose, right? But the other thing to think about is that
Fraser.
she is a girl, and obviously younger and lighter than this guy. So maybe they both are partying, and she just overdid. You know what I'm saying?
It's
So I don't know.
possible.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
let's keep it real. That's what Sean's saying.
So maybe that's an issue. I don't know. You know.
No, I'm not ruling out any possibility, but I don't think that we should rule some out because it doesn't fit the little bit of information that has been publicly disclosed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Like-
what the crime scene, when they go and check out the crime scene, there are gonna be things that come up. Now, there's no telling. I know police officers. I knew police officers when I was growing up.
Mhm.
I saw police officers in the bar. There's no telling that there are some police officers who know her and know how she rolled.
This is true. Bridgeport's a small community.
And know how she rolled.
I argue it's a big city.
Possibly. No, he's
The small city.
take it from somebody who knows that area. It's very light.
Yeah. It might be more than one cop. Like, yeah, when they came in there, I was like, oh, I know who she is.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just, you know,
Streets. I'm telling you, it's very possible. It's personal experience. It's very possible.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything you can rule out. I was gonna say that I think I forgot my train of thought. I was gonna say I lost my train of thought. Anyhow, it's just interesting scenario, man. And Mike's looking like he's about to blow up. What say you, Mike?
I don't like the direction this conversation has gone in because
give your point of view, man. Give your side.
Or we could transition to a new topic. We've talked this one to death, to be fair.
I'm not of the belief that
this
I
last
have
bit has just been a string of, you know, well, she signed up for that life, and it's it sounds like, you know, moralizing and concern trolling when what we ought to be doing is focusing on the wrongdoing of not investigating the family. Like how she got there is not important.
We discussed that earlier on.
But also what we're doing, but it's not our place to judge how she got to where she got. You know, everybody's making their way through life, and we can agree with it or not. And I don't think we gain anything from it other than needlessly losing the focus on what is actually wrong, which is a young woman was found dead in her apartment, and it took the cops 3 days and public embarrassment to actually do anything about it.
I agree.
That's the point.
I agree.
And anything that is like, well, how'd you get there? Like, no, not our business. Not our business. It's not our business how you met that guy. It's our business what he did or didn't do and why it wasn't discovered. That's it. And
I didn't hear it took 3 days for the police to contact the family.
It took some amount of time.
Yeah,
okay. The wrongdoing is that another Black person's death was attempted to be swept under the rug by a power structure that clearly didn't value that life for whatever reason. I
I
don't
agree.
care.
I don't know, Mike.
I don't
know, Mike.
care
We
if
only
she
got
was
we only
if she
got one
was
side of the story. We got the family side. We didn't hear. I'm
That's
not.
all we got, the
I need to
family
hear from
side
the
who has a
police.
lawyer and suing.
well, and that's fine. You know, if he wants to come out and say what he wants to say, that's fine. Like what I disagree with this general part of this conversation is all of us sitting here speculating about, you know, maybe she was trying to rope in men, you know, to live some kind of lifestyle. Like that doesn't fucking matter. It just doesn't. And it's some judgy bullshit so that we can just no. The important thing is she died in her apartment under dubious circumstances and no one did anything about it. Anything past that is dumb or sexist and just us just talking out of our asses. And I just didn't find that.
I guess I see it a different way. I think what Sean was saying and what DJ was saying, and I think a little bit what Todd was saying was he was just generalizing that you got to be careful what lifestyle you live, right? I don't know if they were speaking directly to this case, right? Maybe they were, but I didn't read it that way. I think they were just talking in general terms that you have to be careful what life you're living, right? Because you might be at more risk based on the life you're living. I thought that's what they were saying.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I don't think they were blaming. I don't think they were blaming the victim.
No, I definitely say I'm not blaming the victim.
I know
I'm definitely not saying that the person that she played. I'm not saying that she was to blame for what happened to her. That's definitely not the point I bring across. And I'm glad you brought it up. That's
And again, when you say victim, just being victim of the police not responding to the family in time, because that's the only thing from my perspective, speaking for myself, the only thing she may be a victim of, or the family, not even her, the family are victim of, are saying that the police were negligent and keeping them informed of their sister, brother, daughter's case.
I think
that's the only victimization I see in this whole thing. Somebody see it differently.
I do. Like the police didn't initially do what they needed to do to gather enough information to rule out certain possibility. And here we are.
How do we know that?
They didn't reach out to the family. They made it from what's been reported. They made a quick assessment on a person who last saw her alive.
That's my argument.
They really didn't do due diligence to do what they needed to do.
I think you're jumping the gun. I think you're jumping
the gun. I'm going off.
I don't think they.
Here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if I go out, I'm a single guy. I go out and meet a girl. We go to a club. She winds up dead in my apartment. Right? Wouldn't the police at least investigate to make sure that, hey, what happened here, and not just say, hey, you can go, you're a good guy, because I tell them some story.
We know that
they're going to investigate. They're going to investigate what happened to it. They're going to toxicology report. Yeah. They get a case number. They assign it to a detective, and that's usually procedure. And then, okay, however long it takes, maybe it takes a week or a couple weeks or a month or whatever. Okay, it was an accident. You had nothing to do with it. You're free to go. Right. That seems like an investigation. Since in this case, they either
we don't know the evidence at the scene.
We don't, and that's kind of the big issue.
And evidence wasn't initially gathered when it should have been. That's one of the questions, DJ. When they first found out about it, it should have been treated as a crime, irregardless of what they thought, if he was a nice guy or not.
Yep.
For the record,
I didn't get that from the articles I read.
No. It should have been treated. No, I'm talking about procedure. It should have been treated as a possible crime. Like, put this way. With my wife, if I wake up, she got blood running out of her nose, she dead, they're gonna consider it a possible homicide until they're gonna investigate and rule it out. That's the normal procedure.
Well, it would investigate a homicide.
They're married, so then I got to do it. No, he was with her. He said he was with her. They spent the night together. Blah blah blah. She's dead. They didn't do that.
It wouldn't be necessarily a murder, but suspicious death, and then they would investigate to find out if it wasn't a murder or an accident, whatever. Right. But it would at least you would at least be
There's
person of interest, at
another
least
exact
question you.
same situation like this that just happened. It just popped up in the news. 53-year-old Brenda Rawls was found dead at a residence in Bridgeport the same day as Lawrence Smith Fields. They're also reporting on the same issue of not being properly followed up on by the police. The chief medical examiner doesn't know what the cause of death is yet. The family was in closer contact. This is a 53-year-old woman, so no Bumble, whatever. Not a lot of police follow-up on this.
And that's
Seems
what
like
it
a
all
pattern
comes
for
down
this
to.
work.
What does
Black
the family
victim.
consider not follow-up or enough follow-up or enough response? What does the
They
family?
never took the opportunity to look for the next of kin. They didn't, like, again, this wasn't the police calling them. This is them finding out. Got to be honest, even with my own experience of dealing with the criminal justice system, nothing sucks more than finding out through the grapevine what happened versus the police telling you. It happens a lot. Y'all can look up the situation yourselves.
I think we're
I'm
gonna have
beginning
to
to notice
wait
the pattern
on
with
this.
Bridgeport.
Yeah, on this one, I
Yeah.
think we gotta wait until the report.
I don't want to pass
Until
judgment
the
on.
total report
Most of this has
comes
been us
out.
jumping to conclusions anyway.
Until the total report comes out and stuff, because you know they're gonna canvass the neighborhood. Everybody done seen first 48. And that's
If the people in the neighborhood
homicide
actually
101.
respond.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know where this goes, but I do think, again, the bigger crime, as I mentioned earlier, is the fact how they
Perception from the family.
how they
that the
immediately
police-
went to
Yeah.
clearing somebody and not even doing a full investigation of this case. And it took the family to really to basically motivate the media and create a media storm, which basically made this case become a national story. I
How
think
soon did they
that's
clear
the
the
big
guy?
issue.
And
How soon did they
here's,
clear the
I
guy?
just send the link to number 2.
Pretty
We just know
quickly,
the
I think.
detective said
No,
that.
you're saying that they automatically, like, they cleared him right there. Like,
I think they
I
told the
didn't
family
see
they weren't
anything
investigating him.
saying that immediately they cleared him right there. I'm sure he was still a suspect and they still looking into it. Unless somebody else saw something.
I haven't heard what you would assume that in this case that they would be a person of interest. I'm not saying you say he's guilty or whatever, but he's a person of interest. We want to know more about what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything in regards to that. In fact, you know more. You know more about her than you know about the person, the guy involved, and maybe I don't know if that's the best situation. You know what I mean? Should you really say, okay, why were you with her? What happened? And sort of question the person that's with her. That should be, they should at least try to find that out. I mean, because this guy says he woke up and she's bleeding from the nose. You didn't know.
How we know they don't know about?
No,
We don't
no.
know
In a
about
week,
this.
in a week,
Love
we
what
knew all
about
the
us,
stuff
huh?
about what was it?
How
Gabby
about
Lewis?
How about this? They grab her phone. Because if you're a police officer and you're investigating a homicide and her phone there, what is the police gonna do when they grab her phone?
They're
What are
gonna
they
look through
gonna do
recent
with it?
calls. They're gonna look through recent texts,
They-
social media,
If they
Everything,
can
right?
unlock
everything,
it,
right?
So
if
when they go
can
through that
unlock
phone,
it.
when they go through that phone, let's just say hypothetically, don't nobody jump down my throat, but let's just say when they go through that phone and they go through all her little, it might be Bumblebee or whatever, and they says, okay, this young lady, she has a habit of meeting guys and inviting them to her house. I'm just putting it out there. Don't jump down my throat because this
but
happens.
all right,
They have
even
to-
even
they
if
have
she
to
did,
be
that
able
doesn't
to unlock her
that doesn't mean
phone.
that doesn't mean anything. Let's
Well,
say
no, first of all, they have
let's
to be able to unlock her phone. Otherwise, they got to go through. They would have to contact Bumble. They would have to have it a warrant. And
Yeah,
if they
that
didn't
would
rule
be-
that,
yeah,
no,
big
no,
problem.
listen. If they didn't rule it a murder, they wouldn't get a warrant.
Yeah, they
to
wouldn't
do
get a
that
warrant
stuff,
to go through a phone.
to
Yeah.
do that stuff. So this is critical. And if they couldn't unlock it, if she had an iPhone or I mean.
You don't even really need a phone. You can just go to all these websites where they know she's at Bumblebee. She's definitely on Facebook. They can just go.
DJ, that's what I'm saying. But you would need a warrant to get that information released to police.
Okay, I'll
and
give
to get
you
a
that.
warrant,
They don't
you would
even
have
need
to have
that just
ruled
to
it.
go to these
You would have to
websites and pull her
you would
name
have
up.
to rule it as a possible homicide to investigate it.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to probable cause. Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
just it's an overreach.
So they said he's a
But
nice guy. He's not a suspect. Why they going through the phone? They didn't consider it a
yeah,
murder.
Well,
So
they have
right.
his phone, and then they're going to be looking at
they can't
conversations.
look at
Right?
his phone
They can't
unless
look at
they
his phone either. You
consider
have to
him
give
a person
permission.
of
Well,
interest.
he's
You have to give
alive.
permission.
He lied. He can give permission.
He
He can give
can, but it would be on him. It would be on
Right,
him.
you know,
But
and
but
suppose
again,
he
I would say that even if she, let's say that she was in the habit of meeting guys, whatever, that doesn't absolve what might have happened to her. So in that sense, I agree with Mike. I don't regardless of what she was doing, I don't think it absolves whatever happened in this case. Whatever in any case,
Yeah.
even
It
the other
also
case I showed
impacts-
you, that doesn't absolve the person who did it. I'm not absolving responsibility of the person who committed the crime. What my original
Right.
statement is that if you
Did they respond?
there's their response. Their response was
And
very,
so all we have is right now, all we have is the family word that they did not.
not in a
Because-
timely manner, that they basically blew them off until they made a stink and
and
basically had
that
a
was the
lawyer.
family
and-
word. The family
right,
word.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So
we're
because
gonna.
I can guarantee
talk
you,
about
if the
something
family was
else.
calling, if they
Yeah.
were calling every
I
day,
think
I think
we're running
we're
into a brick
exhausted
wall with
this
this one.
one.
So on the political talk, since I know it's what everybody wants to talk about, Joe Biden has promised to elect a black woman as to Supreme Court. Looks as though it may happen. I think he mentioned a candidate. I forget. I don't know the person's name. I have to look it up. But
we finally have a
apparently-
name of a candidate. Who's he
I
picking?
thought I heard someone. No,
There's
you know
a
what? That
few.
that was another state where they had a black woman. But apparently Joe Biden is
South Carolina.
one of the
She's from
South-
South Carolina.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, apparently Joe Biden has made the he made the campaign promise, and I guess he's supposedly sticking to it. He's going to elect a black woman to the bench after the retirement of I forgot the guy's name who retired.
All right, this
Right.
is an editorial
Right.
comment.
You know,
This is an
I want. What if the
editorial
black
comment.
woman is just like
He-
Clarence Thomas?
No. Hold
Would
on
it
a
matter
wait,
then?
wait,
No.
We say let's
what
go,
would we say
No,
if what
no,
would we
no.
say
Hold on a
if the
second.
Republicans said they wanted to elect a white male?
Yeah,
Right.
I
Say that.
just-
They wouldn't say it, they
just
just
don't
do it.
understand.
They wouldn't
I
say it.
just-
They just do
No,
it.
no.
They've been
Right,
doing
right.
it.
You
And
need to
guess-
have his
right.
argument. It's a good point. Make your case unpopular.
Wait, no,
I wanna
hold on a
see
second.
this.
Go ahead.
I have a point that's in line with this because this is all politics. Joe Biden was losing the Democratic primary till he got to what state? South Carolina.
Carolina.
She happens to be from where? South Carolina. Claiborne happened to recommend who? Her. This is one
Politics.
hand washes the
Yeah,
other.
politics at work.
It's politics
think-
at work.
Should
No,
not
no,
be a part of
I-
our
right.
process. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I-
Unpopular. I want to hear
I
this.
just don't understand why he would say it, right? So even if you want to elect a
Exactly.
black
Do
woman,
it.
why would you actually say that? Right?
I think-
Exactly.
I
Personally,
agree.
it just doesn't make
Exactly,
any sense.
unpopular.
Personally,
Without all
I
the
think
division-
think he did it. I think he did it to secure the black vote. That's what
Look,
I
he
think.
was gonna get the black vote
I think he
anyway.
did it to set
I
up
think to secure it. I think he thought he would
progressive.
get it, but
I
I
have
think
a
he voted to
different theory.
secure
I'm
it.
not going to say security, so he can say that he upheld one of his promises for his
Right,
contract with
right.
Black
Yeah.
America. That's
I think-
politics.
What he
Politics.
should have said is, it's gonna be a woman. He didn't have to go into black and all
Right.
that.
He didn't
Because
have
Right.
to.
the-
Didn't have to.
the
I
way
agree.
this country is and divide, he didn't have to say that. He could have just said, "My choice is gonna be a woman."
Right.
I think he wanted
Less of the same issue.
to push the card a little
To
further
appease-
to really
to
push things in
appease.
his favor, and he thought
Yeah,
that
to
saying a black
appease
woman
his
would work.
vote, the black people who got him in there. But I think that was a mistake for him. He could have just said that. I mean, he should have just said,
I think it's going to
Yeah.
back.
I'm gonna nominate a woman.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think he
He
had
didn't
to go
have to
there,
go
right?
black.
Why would you have? Because that's going to put a lot of pressure on whoever the woman is that he's going to select to be
that's
the
what you're
Supreme
thinking?
Court justice.
'Cause now you're affirmative action. It's like you're affirmative action pick.
Right? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, I think
just
that's
I
definitely.
mean, they would have said that anyway. Like
That's what Clarence Thomas was. So don't even
No,
play that.
no,
Like, don't even-
everybody got to
that's what
go
Clarence
through.
Thomas
Everybody
was.
got to go through
But
the
there's a difference, though. There's a difference. If the Republicans said we're going to elect a white male, we would be going off, right?
But they
Right?
don't
Because
have
we would say
They
that's
didn't-
They don't have to.
racist
They always
as hell,
do.
They
right?
didn't say that.
But they don't say it.
because they
They
don't
don't
have
say
to
it.
say it. You have
Oh,
to
man.
understand. You have to understand that a statement like that is made under the context that we have to understand that America quietly says that white people are the default setting,
Mm.
and anytime we have to clarify that it's not going to go to the default, we have to say it. So when they say we're gonna select, when a Republican says we're gonna select a qualified applicant, they mean a white person, and they do.
I mean, you can't say that
But
because we got a black,
why
we got a black
couldn't
conservative.
we say that?
Justice,
But
you can't say
I
that.
don't understand why we couldn't do the same thing and still select a black person, right? Why do we have to say black person?
Right.
Because
Why do we
Can
have to
I-
do it?
Can I actually answer
Especially
Unpopular's
now
question?
in this divisive
Okay,
atmosphere, right?
politics. No. This is politics.
Politics at work.
No, this is politics. He, in a sense, for his party, he had to say it because in the last election, Trump had a noticeable increase in black vote, especially with black males.
Black men.
So he
And
has to
his
prove that the party is doing something, like he's addressing some of the things that he said he would do for the black community. Because if that preponderance of 90+% drops down to 70%, it's going to be hard for them to win a lot of national elections.
or it already is, seeing how any state that's run by a Republican Senate is.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, even in short states, if the black vote slowly, if the percentage of votes starts to increase for Republicans and decrease for Democrats, it's going to be hard for them to hold states that they currently have, especially in national elections.
Exactly, and it's going that way. And independents.
I don't know if it's going that way, but we have a, like, put it this way, just like with Obama, and it could go that way and it could swing back the other way, because Obama got a lot of votes that traditionally didn't go that way. It's possible. We are in uncharted territories and unique times. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think to avoid any flack from black constituents, especially ones that have political influence, ones on media, the ones who can put stuff out there. He has enough stuff going on. He had to say black.
He doesn't have anything going on. That's the problem.
He
He ain't got
does.
shit going on.
No, but this is the politics
Stacey
of it.
Abrams didn't even show up for his damn thing, and she
No,
had a
the
scheduling
midterms-
conflict. You got a scheduling
the
conflict, and the
midterms-
president of the United States is showing up.
No, the midterms are in 10 months, and from what current polls are showing, they may lose the House, or they like
Or both.
Probably will.
yeah.
Or both.
And the Senate is on the bubble. It is what it is. So he's trying to secure that whatever 12 to 15% of the vote that pushes them over the top in certain states. So he's trying to maintain as much as he can. And that's all it is. Because if that 12 or 15% doesn't vote, like typically what does happen in midterms, it's gone. And then what can he do? All he can do is do executive orders, because he's not going to have the House or the Senate. And we know that the Republican Senate and House will not do anything that he wants to do. It is what it is. And then you're going to have to wait for the presidential election cycle, and then we'll see what the hell happens.
And with midterms, it is based on the performance of the president, not really
Yes,
anything
it
else.
is.
And he's
Which is
underwater. He's underwater
always
on
bullshit.
everything.
Correct.
He's underwater on everything. He's below 50% on everything.
Man, I still think it's messed up that the opposing party, no matter where they are, they can stop a political agenda, and the person in charge gets blamed. We
Not
don't
true.
know if this or that idea is bad, or will it work, will it not work. We just know it's not going to happen because they didn't have enough votes, which means, oh, I'm going to blame the guy in charge, not the reason why we don't know if his ideas work or not.
No,
I
when
can't
there's a
stand that.
Republican president and the Democrats control the House or the Senate, Republicans propose stuff, and then the Democrats, they come up with compromises that give Republicans more of what they want, and they do it. When it's a
That's what they
Democratic
should do.
president, no, hold on a second. When there's a Democratic president and a Republican Senate and a Republican House, nothing happens, nothing moves. And then
And the House,
like the politics slowly moves to the right. That's been in my time as a voting eligible voting American. That's what I've seen in the last 30 plus years.
and
Well,
understand the
Mr.
Speaker of the
McConnell-
House can avoid. The Speaker of the House can avoid even bills that a congressperson may present. They can avoid it even being put up for question.
Correct.
That's the
what's
advantage
happening.
of being Speaker of the House.
Do you guys remember what Mitch McConnell said on the eve Barack Obama was elected?
Yep. Yeah. Oh
even
yeah.
before-
We all.
we all,
even
What?
before
yeah,
he
we
was
all
sworn
do,
in,
What's that?
buddy.
What's
Make him a
that?
one-term president.
even
What's
before he
that?
was sworn in, Mitch McConnell said he'd do everything he can to make Barack a one-term president.
Yeah.
Yes, he
Did-
did.
didn't-
He said he's
didn't
gonna do
even-
everything in his power.
Didn't even hear any of his agenda for America. You know,
He
the
didn't
man
need
wasn't
to.
even sworn into office.
He didn't need to. He didn't need to because it was the opposite agenda to what he wanted. Republicans only want like 4 things. So I mean,
But that's
really,
politics, bro. That's today's politics. They
That's
don't talk no
bad
more.
for everyone,
They don't
regardless
talk no
of your
more.
spectrum. That means
No,
we all lose.
no,
we all in
no,
this
we've
boat
never-
together, son.
No,
Why do you think?
we've never heard the Democratic Party and the leaders of the Democratic Party say that once a Republican president is elected, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they're a one-term president. They never ever.
In practice, we don't do that. In practice, we don't.
They
Democrats
didn't
have voted with
exactly
Trump
say
on
that
legislation.
verbatim. No, they didn't
Yeah,
Also,
you
exactly.
did.
DJ, more important than
They
that.
have not said that.
DJ, more important than that, when Trump has proposed legislation, there have been many times where they supported it. There are instances of them not doing it, but more often, what Al just said, they will debate it down to something less bad. Democrats will work with Republicans. It's a lot rarer to get Republicans to work with Democrats.
No, that hasn't
Like,
happened.
give me an example. Can you give me an example? Because I
The water infrastructure
my
bill,
understanding-
increasing
Huh?
the budget from the military.
Obamacare,
Two that come to mind.
the Affordable
those
Care
are
Act.
things. Well. There are things that even that no side, if it makes sense, that no side, everybody would agree. The problem that we're having now with these with politics,
They didn't support
today
his tax cuts. I
No,
think
the
it's
things
been
that we have
very
a
supportive
problem
of
with
everything else.
is that we
But they
put a
hold
bill
it
now.
to-
Now they don't talk. It's like you're the Crips and I'm the Bloods. And
I
we
love
don't-
that metaphor because that's bad for the entire community.
right, you're absolutely right. And it's like
And it's actually no, fuck that metaphor. That's not the same thing because that makes it
Yeah.
seem like everyone's doing equal things. It may feel the same thing, but objectively speaking, what's being proposed, it's not about the similarities. Focus on the differences. Again, one side is amenable to raising the minimum wage. The other side, hell fucking no. One side proposed legislation that does infrastructure, which would create jobs throughout the entire country, which is good for their kids in their poor ass states, and additionally, their future kids when they get down the line and they're having kids. One's better, full stop. The other side said, no, it's not the same. It's not a one-to-one metaphor. It feels like
well, I
it's
mean,
not.
you're mentioning all the things from the left, good things and I'm not saying they're not good things, but there are some things that Trump offered as well. But getting back to what I was saying,
No, DJ, cite examples. No. If you're going to make that argument, cite examples. What is something Trump
No, wait,
proposed?
hold on a second. I have an
No,
example.
let DJ finish. Cite examples.
There
Go ahead.
you go, abstract coming at me, boy.
No, because there is a difference. I get the feeling. I hate how this is too. I would rather us debate what's best for the country overall because the end goal is what's best for everyone.
How you
One
feel
side
about the
is not
border,
doing it.
abstract?
In which regard? Oh, you mean the
And
border
then
wall?
should we be a sovereign country and should our borders be secure?
Oh.
And if you're gonna apply for immigrant, because we're a nation of laws.
You
If you're gonna
that-
apply,
don't
well, let
make
me
that
finish.
argument.
Let me
You're
finish.
gonna
You
lose.
asked. Let me finish. Let me finish. And so we're a country of laws. Should you go through
Oh
the
God,
immigration
you're
process?
quoting Obama. Obama said that. Joe Biden
Yeah,
said that.
of course,
Donald
they said
Trump
the
said
same
that.
thing.
Bill Clinton said that.
Biden,
Because they're not
Pelosi.
different on the border issue. That's not a big Republican
So what
win
happened?
when
Why
all
when
the
Trump
presidents
came
said
in
the same
office, it
thing.
became an issue? Why when Trump came in
Because
office?
they're fucking racist, you dumb.
Oh my God, you want to talk racist?
DJ,
I know,
that's
Mike.
not- no,
Yeah, believe me, you don't want to
ignore
go
Mike,
there, Mike.
ignore Mike.
All right,
I've got
Mike,
a better
believe
one
me,
for
you
you.
don't want to go there. If you want to talk racist,
DJ,
Who
we
threw
can
the
go
I've got a
grenade?
better one.
Who threw the
DJ,
You don't want to
grenade
go
in
there,
here?
Mike.
I got a better one for you.
Who threw the
The
I'll be
grenade?
right back.
Two things.
Mike, you
Two
don't want to
things.
go there.
All
There's
right,
two
I can
sides.
talk
Okay, go
racist.
to your corner.
DJ,
You go to your corner. You
DJ.
go to your corner.
There are two sides of this issue. First and foremost, we already have a border wall. It's called a fence. Building anything more would be going through private land. Do you want the government to seize our eminent domain, more private property, especially when you consider that it's not a straight line between Mexico and America?
As
And number
opposed,
two,
okay, go ahead. Let me answer the first one because my
no,
memory.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
I don't want to keep going too fast. Go ahead.
as opposed to 100,000 people, the fentanyl coming into our country and 100,000 people dying of fentanyl, as opposed to 600,000 getaways. We don't know if they're terrorists or not. Yeah, I agree to a wall as opposed to a fence.
Okay, so then you're fine with eminent domaining people's private property to build it.
Yeah,
You're
do it to
fine
build
with
a
the
highway. And a highway,
No, you're fine
a
with
highway. This
to
gonna
make that
save
fence.
lives.
No, again, border patrols, well-armed guards, it would achieve the same result without blowing away money. I can argue on the fence thing
We
multiple
already
ways.
bought the fences. They sitting there
Yeah.
rusting.
Yeah, I know. It's also not going to work because here's the other bigger issue. You really want to stop immigration? You want to stop illegal immigration? Here's what you do. Penalize the businesses that are supporting it. Penalize every business that
My
supports it.
man, listening to ologists. My man.
Because that's the root of the issue. That we have had this relationship with Mexico for many, 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 many years. Different presidents have taken different stances on it. Hell, Ronald Reagan went as far to say is we should totally build a wall down there and put a door on it, a revolving door, because part of America's economy is based on that immigrant community coming in, doing jobs that Americans don't want to work. Georgia, no, I'm not done. Georgia tried this.
HM1 and all that. Visas.
DJ, Georgia tried this. They tried cramping down on all their businesses that were hiring illegals, and their economy fucking tanked. They are here. Our economy is based on the fact that they are here, and flat out, we can't get Americans to work some of these jobs. Not to like they're coming here because they're finding employment. It's incentivized behavior. You want to fix the solution? You can build the fence, build the wall. I'll go as far to agree with you on that much. Here's what you do though. Here's what you actually do. Put a door and make it so these guys can come back and forth legally, incentivize legal immigration. I'm not hardcore on this issue. I'm actually not that far different from this issue. I like that all the presidents, Democrat and Republicans, have been making the same argument. I agree with that argument. We should know who's coming into the country. It's not that extreme of an issue. The issue is they have to come in and they have to stay. They cannot go back to their houses or their homes where they want to, making it more easy for illegals to get through. What you want to do is incentivize legal immigration by fixing that process. But from George Bush, skipped over by Obama, and never talked about by Donald Trump, they never fixed the issue of how hard it is to become a legal immigrant.
A legal immigrant?
They make that process has not changed. And
a permanent resident you're referring to. A legal immigrant you're talking, because my definition of a legal immigrant is a permanent resident. Unless you are a citizen.
Those are two separate
things. Unless you are a citizen.
DJ, those are two separate things. A permanent resident is a person that has the government approval to be here and work. A legal immigrant is a person that comes here and is seeking citizenship and is going through the citizenship process to become a citizen. Like it's
Come
different.
here, they work, they fill
Some
jobs. that
people like we can you can be an American, you can be a like put it this
work
way.
visa. You're about
Wait,
to
no,
mention
no, hold
work
on.
visa,
Yeah, yes,
right?
work visa. Let me wait, hold on a second. Let me illustrate this using an American going to a foreign country. Like in Japan and like a lot of in some Asian countries, you can go there as long as you have a job, you can work. But say your employer lets you go, they make sure that you're out of there in like a week. Whereas in America, it's a little bit different. We don't go looking for you like that. But in other countries, you can go there, you can work. It's fine as long as you're working. You can be a resident of that country and you can be employed and you can contribute to their society. The minute that employment is gone, then they're knocking on your door. When you going back home? You got to get out of here. Like you need to
Well,
get
we
on the
have
plane.
that too. We have that.
Whereas,
Oh,
whereas in this country, that doesn't necessarily happen.
Well,
Um,
we
oh,
have
wait,
that law. We have that law.
we
It
have
may
that
not
law, but we
happen.
don't
Some people
enforce it.
extend they stay.
It
No, no,
it
no.
is
But
this. It is also disadvantageous for us to enforce it because again, these people are propping up local economies, state economies as well. We do not have a workforce that will
no, but
fill in the
but
jobs
There
they're
are
Aaron,
people that
working.
work. There are people
no,
that
no,
come here work
no,
for
no.
Hartford Insurance, Hartford
Wait, no,
Insurance,
no,
and
no,
for
second,
insurance company on
DJ.
HM1 and
No,
don't go
no,
back.
I
DJ,
don't
hold
think
on a
that's
second.
most of them.
DJ, hold on a second. I'm making a point for you, for your argument. Um, in the example that I gave, usually it's skilled folks going over to like Asian companies and working, whereas in the American situation is less skilled workers doing jobs that allegedly Americans will not do. Allegedly.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
And it's a
And
difference.
and
But
there's
in
some
other countries,
exploitation in that, but that's not.
they don't want you living off of their social support systems if you're not actively contributing to their thing and actively contributing to their society financially by having a job doing, X, Y, and Z, paying taxes, this, that, and the other. The minute you don't, they want you out of
So
their country as quickly as
okay.
possible.
So usually when we're having this conversation, we're talking about Mexico, maybe some people South America. How many people you think are how many countries do you think we have people that didn't caught people coming across the border from worldwide? It ain't just Mexico. They done caught people they just said on the news in the last couple of days
Like
they caught
Haiti?
somebody on the terror list.
Well, I don't want to get into it, but like is immigration is focused on a certain kind of folks.
They
The
caught a whole
folks,
bunch of Canadians coming through. 10,000
no,
Canadians
Oh,
no,
across the
I do have
border.
a
no,
fun fact.
no,
You
no, I'm not
cannot go
saying
to
that.
Canada if you don't have a work
So,
visa. It's
no,
actually
no, no,
really hard to get into
no,
Canada.
no, hold on a second. In the 80s and 90s, there was a certain group. I'm not going into details. There's a certain group of Europeans that were going to certain parts of this country, and they didn't experience the certain kind of backlash that folks from Central and South America face. And I don't know if people on this cast remember that, but in the mid 80s to the late 80s to the early 90s, it was well known that certain cities and certain regions, groups of Europeans was
Apologies, you're
coming.
making this conversation really wide. I'm trying to keep this shit really narrow
No,
so
no, no, no,
we can
no.
talk on it.
No. I'm just saying when put it
Wider.
this way, when you have um a certain Republican president that called countries of color or African countries shithole countries. Like
No,
he
it's
didn't
just
want
that
folks. No. He didn't want folks
because
from
no,
those
I'm just saying
countries.
me and DJ were discussing A and B. That's C, D, and F. I don't want to make this whole
No,
there's
no,
a
no, no,
racial
no,
element to it. I just feel like I
no,
want to
but
discuss this in
no.
a
It's
pragmatic because
there.
then it gets way
No,
too confusing to talk
no,
about.
but it's like what we talked about in the previous topic. When
I'm
it's
just
a
saying it'd be
certain group
better
of,
to keep it
no, wait,
narrow.
hold on a second. No. When it's a certain group of people, the response in America is a lot different. So with immigration or illegal immigration, the response is different when it's folks of color coming into the country, whereas it's Europeans coming into this country and being here illegally. It, Like they could have set up INS office. They could have rounded up folks in the region that these European folks were coming over, and setting up shop. They knew that they were there, but it wasn't a big deal. They got benefits, they got whatever they needed. It was what it was, but nobody cared because they were from Europe and other folks were brown or black.
So how do we
And
fix
this,
this?
I mean,
and
down in Florida, down in that region, Florida,
I'm not
Arizona,
talking about
New
Florida. I'm talking
Mexico.
about the region that most of us live in. I'm talking about that region.
Okay, that's
I'll put it in.
So,
I'll put it
so
in
what I'm saying, I don't think it comes down to because we'll find that, and we know down in them regions there is a lot of people of Latin descent and stuff who totally disagree with what's going on with the border on property. Now, totally disagree. Would y'all agree with that?
yeah. There's a lot of, because of the way their culture is, a lot of people who are Hispanic or of Hispanic descent lean more conservative.
So to say that, I mean, so when you say that somebody not of a certain race,
This is kind of why I didn't want to
you're
discuss this from
saying
the race
European, how
standpoint.
it was they weren't, how they're more accepted. I mean, what it comes down to.
No, it's not more accepted. I'm saying there wasn't the legal response for deportation. You're not citizens. You're not American. You don't belong here. That meme wasn't permitted. They weren't being asked for their papers of citizenship because they look like the majority folk in this country. It was assumed that they were citizens.
Are we
Right.
talking now, or are we talking about late
No,
1800s
I'm talking in the 80s and early 90s. And
Are
it's
you
probably
talking about the
look in the
guest
chat.
workers from Western Europe?
No,
Because
look
there's
in
a
the
program with that.
No, look in the chat. Look in the text message feed. I just put it in there. But that was huge in the 80s and the early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the U.S. has always kind of extended themselves out to a number of different groups. I remember in the 90s there were,
And
like
don't get me wrong, because
hey, DJ, remember
I share
Easter?
genetic
Remember
heritage.
Easter?
border
We had a
wall.
lot of Sri Lankans there.
Yeah.
No, I
Remember
have
Easter? And a
genetic
whole bunch of Sri
heritage
Lankans there.
from
That's
the
because
folks I'm
Easter had
talking
a
about.
had a what's called with Sri Lanka from the get educated there.
Yeah.
So it does happen.
And I have genetic heritage from the folks I'm talking about. Like that's in me. It is what it is.
All right,
I mean,
man.
I'm,
Hey,
But it
what?
I'm
came
part
down
Irish.
because he
What'd you
asked
say?
me
You
a
part
question.
German? Get you some bratwurst?
You say
It
My
came
name
out.
you're
is
European?
no, my last
I'm
name.
We
part
got on this.
Irish.
We got
No,
on
my
this
last
discussion
name
because
has German
Abstract
roots.
is asking me for an example of what for something,
Of
and
like
that's how we got on. And so I brought
Democrats
up.
not supporting a Republican legislation, and the
Yeah.
issue is there with the border
And so
wall
to
is
get back to the topic of the state of the Supreme Court justice,
after
I
we're done talking
totally
about the
am
wall.
against. I am totally against putting a Supreme Court justice in there to legislate. I want you to know the Constitution, and I want you to
Oh,
No, but that's
That
not
goes for both
legislate,
sides, right?
not to do something that Congress refused to do because it might not agree with their constituents.
So why do you think
Do
that
your job.
person's going to
Doesn't
legislate?
that go
Why
both
do you think
ways?
that person can't legislate? All they can do is interpret the law
Judge.
based on the
Interpret the law.
Constitution.
No,
That's
but they can.
if anything,
Yeah, but
DJ,
but
can I ask
Congress
you
can do it without even
point?
having it go there. Congress
no, that's
can
Congress'
pass it without
job. That's
having
how the
it go
government
there.
works. Congress' job is to legislate. Supreme Court is to interpret
And
the
pass bills
laws
and pass bills.
based on the
I know what you're
Constitution.
talking about,
Congress,
DJ.
I mean, the Supreme Court cannot make laws. They cannot legislate. Only the
Functionally,
Congress
that
and the
does
Senate.
happen, though. I know what DJ's
You're not
talking
supposed
about.
to legislate. You're not supposed to legislate. Just
It
No,
like
depends on the
federal
when did they
judges.
legislate? Educate.
Okay, allow me to explain. Here's what some of the issue we're going on with the Supreme Court has been. Because Congress is so deadlocked, a lot of times we end up getting things that have somewhat sweeping implications, or when you have Supreme Court justices arguing that a law or a bill is a little bit more more looser definitions. For instance, functionally, on a technical level, Roe v. Wade is not a law. It's not. In practice, it kind of has been. The specifics of the Constitution does not fully outlaw abortion. It doesn't specifically outlaw a lot of shit. It's open to interpretation whether it does. For instance, one of the Supreme Court cases I had to research regarded if using, say, your phone counted as, like, say, talking in public. Is my phone recordings back at the time with Alexander Graham Bell and shit, rolling this shit up and stuff. This is a case involving prohibition. If you talk on the phone, is that a public conversation? Can the police tap your phone? For about 40 years, legally they could, 1926 to 1964. It was a more liberal judge that basically said, no, you can't protect it by the Fourth Amendment. That in
No,
function,
that's not legislative.
I know. It technically is not a law. In practice, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I know.
No, it's not. What the Supreme Court does is says this law is not consistent with the Constitution. Like, the Constitution allows certain rights, so you cannot make a law, get a law passed that violates the Constitution, because the Constitution is the supreme document.
It supersedes everything.
Therefore, they're not passing laws. They're saying that this law violates our supreme principles. The end. They're like, only Congress and like, no.
I'm saying there is a very big difference.
Wait, hold on a second. You made the argument that functionally it is a law. If you listen to the Supreme Court cases, a lot of times when folks are deliberating their cases, they say this so many times. Well, I guess you need to basically go back and speak to Congress or lobby Congress to basically write the law better. That
for their opinion. Their opinion.
Yes, they say that so many damn times. It's ridiculous. They're saying, like, look, they have to write the law that is consistent with the Constitution. We know the outcome that you want. You can have your outcome if they write a better fucking law, and they don't write a better fucking law.
A prime example of that, and was the border thing. They brought it to the Supreme Court. They brought it to the Supreme Court, and they said, no, you are wrong. You need to keep them on, follow Trump's former rule, and keep them on the other side. And the administration still refused to do it. That's a prime example. That's legislating. That's legislating.
You're talking about the Trump administration?
That's legislating.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Vote. Huh?
I don't know which example you're citing. Are you saying this is what happened under the Trump administration, Obama's? What?
No, during the Trump law, as far as keeping everybody on the other side of the border and Mexico.
Yes,
and they went to the Supreme Court, and they found in the Republicans' favor, but they still refused to do it. But I don't know what's going to happen to that. But we don't legislate. The legislature, the Congress now, because you got moderates, you got the far right, you got the far left, and you got them ones in the middle who says, I don't even want to touch this. Let's send it. Let somebody else decide. Send it to a federal judge. Send it to.
This is kind of what. This is why I keep saying about what the problem actually is. There's so much bottlenecking in Congress. Nothing gets done, and makes us keep looking at Congress to do shit. Not Congress.
It's not bottleneck.
Yes.
Wait, hold on.
And that's why I talk about legislation.
No. It's not bottleneck. The way that the
Congress.
The aspects of government, the president, the Congress, or the Congress, the legislature, the legislature, that's the correct word, and the Supreme Court work. Everybody has their role, but when folks defer their power to other branches, they weaken themselves and they're not doing their job, and the legislators has not been doing their job. Both the presidency and the Supreme Court have gained powers and responsibilities that they weren't in the way that when the country was conceived and those aspects of government were drafted. They have powers that they necessarily weren't supposed to have, because the legislators have deferred their powers to the other offices, to the other
Right.
branches of the government. Yes.
Congress supposed to debate.
Yes.
You are
Yes.
meant to
Exactly.
debate each other, and then based on the debate, come up with a decision. But because some of them because of their district, or even they don't want to piss off the Speaker of the House, because that's the main fundraiser, and that's the person who places you, determine what committee
For
you
both
in,
parties, for
whether
both
you're
parties.
chairman. Yo, it goes both ways. Even on with McConnell and stuff, the same thing. They said, I'd rather not even touch this. I want to go with you, but understand I'm a moderate that live in a conservative district. I
It
don't
started.
send it to a federal judge. That's
How much
I don't want this person to be a legislator like that. Make them
I'd
do
rather
what
this-
they do.
I'd rather have this shit be
They're
worked
supposed
out
to
in
do.
the legislature too.
No,
Speak on-
they have to write laws, and the thing is, a lot of the members of the legislators have law degrees, are attorneys, and they should know how to write better laws, but they don't,
They do.
and they
They do.
consistently
Some
don't.
of them just don't.
No, but they make them because they do stuff. They attach all of these terms and conditions and other bills, this, that, and the other, to get
They
the
got their
stuff that they
lobbyists to
want.
deal with.
Yes, the
They're
politics.
contributors
And
to their
then
campaign.
we end up with these vague things, and then they try to throw it to the Supreme Court to
Yeah.
sort out. And the Supreme Court says they kick it back down and say the Congress needs to write a better law. And then we get upset.
Oh
at the
shit! I
Supreme
got a
Court.
good example of this. This
Yeah.
is gonna piss some of y'all off. Remember the Texas lawsuit from 2020?
The
Texas
what?
was
Which
Texas
lawsuit?
was Texas was alleging that because of the four states that they didn't really have disputed elections, they were alleging that was the case.
Right.
That
right,
based
right.
on these
Yeah.
states not following their state constitutions or whatever, that
Right.
this negatively affects Texas.
Right.
Like i.e.
And
there should
Texas
be a
got
federal
they
standard.
were supposedly representing every other state. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
and here's the issue of what Texas is actually proposing by that. If you want every state to follow a set amount of guidelines, that's not a Supreme Court job. That's a Congress job. What
Yes.
you're actually arguing is you want federal election lines. You want federal rules.
Right.
And Texas is not supporting that now that the Democrats have brought it up. Not to mention
Yeah.
the time a few years ago. I think this was 2006.
We gotta let Congress do
2007.
their job.
Oh yeah, this is like 2006, 2007. Congress had tried this to set up federal laws in regards to standardizing everyone's election process. Nope. Texas didn't support it then. Texas wants to tell you what to do, but you can't tell Texas what to do.
Don't mess with Texas.
Don't mess with Texas. That's right. Don't mess with Texas. Yeah.
We take that
Those-
serious.
those type of
Don't mess
issues.
with Texas.
Mike, I hope you ain't mad at me. I didn't mean to piss you off or something, man. But
It's
Mike,
it's
you know
all
how
right.
we go, man.
It's
You
all
my
right.
man.
I shouldn't have yelled and called you a name. I am
That's
tired.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
good with it, man. I'm good with it.
We
No,
all friends.
it's
It-
me. It's
it-
I
but Mike, the thing I want to say is that you know what is that I want us to be able to have our own viewpoints and be able to defend our viewpoints and not feel that we're being stymied or left out. You know what I mean? Or that
Right.
someone's
Which
trying to
is-
sort
which
of
is-
buffalo their point of view. And I mean,
Which
and I'm not trying to say like I'm the authority, like I know. No, up, like a broken clock. You know, it's right twice a day and wrong the rest of the day. So it doesn't. So I mean,
The other
I don't,
10 times of the day, the 20.
yeah, twice a day. You know, and you know, I mean, a lot of these discussions are kind of just, I won't say spitballing, but just sort of asking questions and sort of seeing, you know, sort of questioning and sort of asking what solutions are, you know. And I don't think there are, and I think a lot of times these solutions aren't easy. They're not simple. They're not binary. You know, I think a lot of times we tend to think decisions are this or that. And generally they're not, you know. It's a mixture of both, you know.
And I at times, even on our weekly texts and stuff, you know, you find that I agree with you, and then somebody told me something about you have the associate justices, and I didn't know that, and I'm willing to say like I didn't know that, and thank you for telling me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just sit back and just say like I know everything because I
Oh,
don't.
no, now you know, DJ.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think it's important
So
to
that's why it's
have
good
the
that we
ability
have this
to
discussion.
accept, you know, that you don't know it all and to learn something. You know, I think that's a mark of maturity. I think if I were to come in here and say like I know everything and I know I have all the answers, no, I don't have all the answers. I don't have any. I don't have any answers. I just have some questions.
Motherfucker, with
you
all
know?
the books you own, I know. Yes, you have a lot of them damn answers.
Yeah,
Fucking
they're
can write the whole
they're
damn
mixed
test.
in, and I don't read the books
There's
anyhow,
a
so they
lot of
probably stuff to the
information and
books.
knowledge in the world abstract, and nobody can like we all just know a little small slice of the pie, no matter
Very
how
true.
much you have.
I want to add something, DJ. I sent you an article, and maybe we could talk about it next time. But I sent DJ an article because this kind of supports what he was feeling. The Pennsylvania court declares that no excuse absentee voting is unconstitutional.
Hmm.
Wait,
Put
what?
that in the main one. I want to read that.
Yeah, you got to put it. Can you put it in chat, Sean?
What did they say? So
They
Pennsylvania
basically
court
said that you
declares
have to have a
states
reason
Or
to.
put it in the text.
request a absentee ballot. That you just can't have one sent to you just for no reason.
Yeah, because I want to
Well,
see
Okay.
what
that's
they.
the way it's always been though. Prior to COVID, you had to be if you were deployed, if
Overseas
you was
or
elderly
yeah.
in a
that
nursing
doesn't
home.
seem that
No, I need to hear
bad.
why it's not constitutional. Like, how is that linked to the Constitution? Like, I understand why someone would make that argument, but I need to understand why they believe that it's not constitutional.
Why?
What
And let me
what is
explain. 'Cause
written in
I'm
the
looking at it.
Constitution that says that
Sean,
that's not okay?
Sean, I'm looking at it. So what they're saying, Sean, is that sending out
Absentee ballot.
absentee ballots to everybody is not unconstitutional, or are they saying not
Okay,
sending it all out?
let me go to my inbox and I'm gonna put the
Says
article.
Pennsylvania court declares
I'm
states
okay both
no excuse
ways.
absentee voting law. Okay, so what it's saying is that basically those states that say that and there was only prior to COVID, there was only 1 or 2 states in the whole country that did it, like Washington and some other one. But they're saying, and what this is saying, what Sean sent is saying that they're saying that everybody gets a absentee ballot. You send out absentee ballots to everybody, and that
You know,
only
there's a problem with this. So
Why?
one of the cases that I kept reading and rereading was the 2020 election. The 2000 election with Bush and Gore. And that they were the Supreme Court was arguing, was it unfair that in Florida they had these really different regulations? What the majority presiding opinion in that case read like this: if the state electors are picking their method of election, even if it's technically unconstitutional or unfair, it's picked by the people by proxy of their electors, meaning it's fair game.
right.
They even
Right.
argue, like this is in their decision, that they also thought it was unfair, Florida standards being fucking god awful, but their electors picked it. It's the same argument they would make.
They leave it up to the state legislature. The
Yeah,
state
so it's
Yeah.
legislature
Well, a
determine
lot of
the
laws have
voting.
been passed in Republican states to actually to leave up the electoral college votes to the legislature. So we're 2024 is going to be an interesting election. That's all I'm going to say.
yeah. So I'm
No,
saying
well,
with
the
that in mind. Oh,
electoral people, they always had a choice. Usually they go with the person who won the state.
No.
Vote.
What I'm saying is
I wanted to say this before we get too far.
What I'm saying is after 2020, certain states have passed laws that it's not the representatives of the electoral college that go to the electoral college and do the votes. It's going to be left up to the legislator, the state legislators, to say that our votes go to this person.
Yeah, this is gonna
Yeah, I
get. I
don't
think
want to
this is
take
gonna
that.
get
Go ahead,
overturned.
abstract. Go ahead, abstract.
There's a
It
problem with
is.
this because what I'm saying has also been consistent. Your state can decide how you do your elections, even if it is real unfair or possibly even
That's how I
unconstitutional.
feel.
That's the
No,
same
no,
thing
no. The
with
outcome, the voted outcome can be for one person, and the legislator can say, no, we're giving the electoral votes to the
that's
other
not what
person.
I'm arguing. I didn't want to go too far down that
I
tangent.
mean,
I'm
No, no, no,
saying
I'm
it,
not saying that's what you're arguing. I'm saying that's what the laws that were passed. So we may see this in 2024.
I know. I'm just
But
saying
you
if
know what's
you
ironic?
if you the people, I'll say this and then I'll shut up. If you the people pick your legislators and they pick the way your elections are ran, even if it's unfair, this would include gerrymandering, unfair ways as well. The entire method, the Supreme Court has looked at it historically as the people are picking the way they want their elections to run. This is the
Okay,
court
wait,
saying that people can't pick because this was based on an act that was passed. The people pick this by proxy of their electors. Now this court's saying they can't. That's
Well,
not consistent.
no,
according to this
no, that's not.
article,
No, it's saying that votes can be mailed. That's just like if you're talking about absentee ballots, that's not the same.
yeah,
Like they're saying that
Right, right.
everybody gets is unconstitutional not to send absentee ballots to everybody, so everybody has the right to vote. That's what
right,
that is saying. Like
correct.
Yeah, they
how the
saying that's
electors pick
they
it.
saying
Like
that's
you could like
unconstitutional.
But
That
here,
everybody can vote absentee ballot. Go,
but
yeah,
here,
Sean was
yeah,
Sean.
but here's the
yeah,
Sean.
yeah.
thing, right?
No, no,
I'm reading the
yeah.
article. Republicans overwhelmingly supported this mail expansion of mail-in voting in 2019, but then began attacking the process following President Donald Trump's loss to Joe Biden in 2020. So they liked it before, but they didn't like it afterwards
Yep.
because it
No,
didn't
no.
benefit their
Listen,
candidate.
I can show you. You can go. You go to YouTube and you can see Joe Biden. You can see Barack Obama. All of them talking about the ballot, mail-in ballot that they're
That
against.
sounds that
That
sounds
they're against.
completely irrelevant. The
Why you?
Republicans supported
No,
this bill as until they lost. It was passed. Again, I'm going sticking with my argument. The people pick this, and then the second the legislators don't like it, they're saying they don't like it. It's unconstitutional. Like it's not to ensure one person wins or loses. It's to ensure the process happens this way. They were for it. It passed. Now because their guy lost, they changed the rules.
well, what do you say? What passed when you say
It's good.
what? Because
Uh,
what y'all got, what I think everybody is missing is that it's only because of COVID that mass absentee ballots went out. Prior to that,
Well,
nobody had
that's
a
kind of
problem.
wait, hold
Nobody
on a
had a
second.
problem with this.
No, wait, hold on a second. That's kind of irrelevant to the whole thing. Is this constitutional or not? And not whether there's a pandemic or not. The premise is, can we send absentee ballots out to everybody as
Right.
part of the normal voting procedure, irregardless of a pandemic or not? A
Right.
pandemic just happened to be the event that precipitated the first incarnation of that.
Right.
So
So
when
you want to make amendment to what legislators
no,
already
no,
have in
no,
place.
no. When and if this goes to the Supreme Court, we will see what the Supreme Court says. And as far as the
That's gonna be a
legality
big
of
one.
it, no.
Yeah, that's
But as
gonna be a
far as
big
the
one.
legality of it, that's what they're supposed to do. That's their role, and we're gonna see what they decide. As
I
far
can
as
see, yep, I can see them doing that type of job.
yeah,
I can
but
see
no,
But
Supreme
it
Court
no.
doing that type of
what I
job.
what I
it
want to talk
wouldn't be
about is like
consistent.
these state. What I want to talk about is these state legislatures that have passed laws to say that they can preempt what the people of the majority of the state have voted, and they can circumvent that and say that we want our votes to go to this person. Like, I mean, I know that is in the laws it's not there, but this is like false advertisement. You tell me that my vote matters and that is one vote, one person, and that this is a democracy. But yet, because I voted for this person, they can take my vote away and they can make it go to whoever they want to go to just because I happen to vote for this person, that their judgment supersedes my judgment. Is that really what we consider as Americans democracy? One vote, one person? No, it's, in my opinion, no, it's not. But is it legal? It probably is very legal. It is what it is.
I'm gonna
So
tell you
we're
where
gonna
it
see
broke
what
down
happens.
at, because we used to have referendums. We would send it out when there were any type of elections, and there was things that people say it's marijuana or whatever. It'll be on the ballot when we vote, and we would sit down and check whether we agree with marijuana being legal or not, stuff like that. We don't have it no more. The powers
Well,
that be, they got
no,
rid of
well, I mean,
referendums. We don't
no,
want
I
the
mean,
people deciding.
certain states have them, and certain states make it like I don't know if all states have them, because I know California is big on those things, like where they just leave it up to the masses, and their population votes on these referendums, and then it is what it is,
Good
however the
thing and a bad
population
thing.
votes. Whereas in other states, it's not like that at all. It has to go through, it has to formally go through the legislative process, and it's not really left up to, it's not put up on a referendum that's left up to 50 a preponderance of 50% or more plus vote of whoever votes on that day for that referendum. So
Yeah.
it's,
I mean, but it
every
was a
state is
one time.
different.
There was a time, and we got away, or the powers that be got away from it, where the people made a decision based on referendums, and they went with it. Now they don't care. Like the New York new governor Hochul about wearing masks. She had that on the last election in last November about wearing a mask, and most
Well,
people
I mean,
said
I don't
we
know if
don't
in
want to
New
wear
York it's
masks.
like
And she
here.
said, I don't care what y'all say. So you went
No,
against like 70% of New Yorkers said we don't want to do it. She said, I don't give
no,
a
but
fuck.
like to make a parallel, hopefully you understand that she was in the military. This, like when they declared a pandemic, a social crisis, it's sort of like martial law. Like, and they gave the power to the government. Like in this state, I think it's February 14th, 15th, that Lamont's powers will likely expire, because I don't think the legislator are going
It
to.
ended up, his last one ended February 27th. They just, Sean, they just extended it to March
Oh, they
sometime,
extending it.
another
Oh,
month.
wow, that's interesting. I didn't think they were going to extend it.
Yeah,
Me
I don't
neither.
know why. I guess if
Yeah.
if you're on emergency or something, it's all about the funding from the federal government. It's
Yeah,
all
but
what it's.
no, as far as no, but as far as the bass go, because he had something recently in the town we were talking about with our first topic, where he said he was going to I was present when he said this, like he was gonna, if they didn't renew his emergency powers, they were gonna leave it up to the he was going to leave it up to the state legislature, and the way that the state legislature was talking, that they were going to probably give it to the local control of the cities and the town.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
because you know what?
No, that's what's
These
that was.
legislators,
I'll
these
put the,
legislators full of shit
no,
too.
I'll put it. I'll put some stuff. I'll try to find some stuff, some links.
Yo, that is some.
Yeah.
I'm reading that article you
I'll
sent,
send
DJ.
one where
Yeah,
you
they
know.
full of it too.
That's
Because
crazy,
they
man.
let him have the power, because they know the power wasn't, a lot of people didn't want to stay at home. They want to be in
And
the
the
club.
the local
And
And
so,
people don't like to think through the implications of their actions. They
yeah,
no,
won't
they
even
let him
smoke.
local
have the
person,
power.
the local
Don't tell me
person,
I can't smoke.
no, the
Yeah,
I
local
want
person.
to.
but
No, well, it's not about smoke, but no, the local person in
I'm
the
using it
town.
as an example.
Well, no, the local person in the town that I work with said they would probably extend it to the end of whatever the cycle of where I work, and then the next cycle that starts, that if the numbers and all that stuff look good, then we probably
yeah,
wouldn't probably have to wear masks. Will I wear a
yeah,
mask or not? I probably will continue to wear a mask. It is what it
yeah.
is, because
They knew the
How
shutdown.
many?
They knew the
Yeah,
shutdown and the wearing the
apologists
mask
if there
was
are more
unpopular.
people like you.
Like legislators knew that wearing the mask and shutting down the clubs and everything was unpopular. But so they'll let him be in control of that. But they ain't cool with him controlling all this federal money coming in and doing whatever he want to.
Well, that money
That's a
expires.
whole different thing.
No, that money expires. All the relief money was like for 2 or 3 years, and that cycle is ending because like where I'm at, they're trying to figure out how to spend that money, and that was some of the talks that happened was like if allegedly if you benefited from the money, if the where the money was allocated, if you benefit from it and you can prove a case that you need that level of support to continue operating at an effective capacity, then allegedly they were going to try to see what they can do with state funding to make sure that you had comparable funding so that you can continue to operate at an effective level. But for me, that was all just political talk. Political talk.
Bullshit.
let me-
Bullshit.
Fellas.
Dash.
Fellas, I'm
I'm not saying
that
that.
well.
That Mike, go ahead, Mike.
I'm not feeling that well. That's why I'm so quiet. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
I'm
Y'all
not.
had
Hey,
a day, bro.
And
I gotta
hey,
show
that
some
fund,
snow, man.
hey, that money,
Yo.
that money that they went out to bars and everything that they gave out to people for saying that you have a business and you watch and see how many people of influence get burnt on that. Watch and see when they do this audit.
What you mean, the PPP
Watch
loans?
and
for
see.
the average person.
People of influence go.
The,
People
the
of influence
PPP
gonna
loans you
get
talking
burnt.
about?
Huh?
No, for
We talking
the
about
average
the PPP
person.
loans?
Yeah, no, for the average person, that was a scam. If you worked at a place, I know so many cases of folks early on where they got the COVID relief money and employers like, no, you got to come back to work, and they had to have a certain percentage of people come back.
Yeah.
And once they obtained that, they got it. They worked those folks for 1 or 2 weeks, and then they laid them off, and they kept the COVID relief money. Like that was a scam.
Yeah, but you got people that made up LLCs and
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
the PPP. Yeah,
People
oh
of
yeah.
influence
They're gonna
and
get
people who
them.
got
They're gonna get
power.
the
People
old
who got power
old
in this
PPP
state.
loans. Oh yeah, people who created
Watch
some
and
business.
see. That's gonna be
Yeah.
big news.
Yeah, they're getting them now. They're getting them now.
Gentlemen,
Anyway,
I'm
y'all.
gonna call it a night.
Yeah, I think it's
Go
my time to
for it.
call it tonight, man. I got shoveling to do.
DJ, we should talk
Yeah.
more about
Yeah, me too. We
immigration
all
on
got
a later
shoveling to
date.
do.
What?
We should
Hey,
talk
what's
about
that?
immigration. We should talk about immigration at a
Yes,
later
sir.
date. My
Yes,
kung
sir.
fu is strong.
All right.
All right,
Yes, sir.
fellas,
Yes,
man.
sir. No problem.
All right,
No
we'll
problem.
do this again, man.
All right,
Yes.
brother.
All right, man. Peace.
Yes,
All right,
indeedy.
brothers.
All right, y'all take care.
See y'all on the other
Salute.
Mike
side.
jumped off.
That
Mike jumped
dirty
off. I love you,
motherfucker.
Mike. Y'all tell Mike I love him, man.
I
He
will let
jumped
him
Man,
know.
it's all love.
We'll let him know, man.
It's a
Yeah,
new
we
family.
All right,
We just
man.
gotta argue.
Yeah.